Most of you know my little sister Kim that sings with the Hoppers. She sang with Tim and I for about 10 years. She fell in love with Dean Hopper. She backslid against God, married him. She hopped away. She's singing with the Hoppers. Years ago, when Kim sang with Tim and I, we used to go up into New York singing. There was a great promoter up there by the name of Bart Fricky was his name. We went all over the state of New York singing for him. After knowing his family for about 7 years, the Lord called Brother Fricky home to go be with the Lord. Went home and laid down all these troubles and trials that we have, and went home to shout and shine and kick up gold dust on Glory Avenue. And I'm thankful tonight that there is hope in Jesus Christ. And I'm thankful that death is not the end, it's just the beginning for God's people. When we heard of the death of Brother Fricky, I told my sister Kim to make sure that she called and ordered some flowers. Kim said she would. So that afternoon, Kim called one of our local flower shops there at home, and they gave her a telephone number of a flower shop there in New York. Kim called up there, and she got Dolly's Pedal Shop was the name of it. And I'm convinced tonight, right here in Martin County, that the little girl that answered that telephone on the other end in New York most likely had only worked in the flower shop one day. Now, I don't know how y'all do it down here in Martin County, but up home, every time we send flowers or send a wreath to the funeral home for someone's funeral to pay our respects and our sympathy and show our love, we always like to put a big ribbon right across the front of the funeral wreath that says something from our heart. And I said, sis, make sure that you do that. I said, them Yankees up there, they don't know much about that. Let's let them know how much we love them. Let's show them something. Kim said, all right. So she called up there. The little girl that answered the phone, Kim said, I'm Kim Greene, and I'm calling to order some flowers for Bart Fricky's funeral. Kim gave them the name of the funeral home, what time the visitation was, and ordered a big old spray of flowers. And the little girl said, well, I'll just get them up there. And Kim said, but before you go, she said, will you do me a favor? Little girl said, uh-huh. Sis said, I want you to put a big old banner, a big old streamer on the front of that wreath made out of ribbon. She said, would you write something on it? And that little girl went, Kim said, honey, I'm not laughing. She said, I'm serious. And that little girl said, oh, okay. Kim said, honey, I want you to put rest in peace. She said, do it on both sides. And she says, if you can squeeze it in, put we shall meet in heaven someday. That little girl went. Kim said, did you get it? The little girl said, I guess so. That was the last words that was said, and she hung up the telephone. We thought everything was fine. That night, at 15 minutes till 9 o'clock, I'll never forget as long as I lived, I was at home laying on the couch with a pillow and a blanket, and I was watching the Dukes of Hazzard when the telephone rang. So help me, it was Bart Fricky's son, Bobby. My mama come in there and she said, Tony, this is Bart Fricky's son, Bobby, on the telephone, and he wants to talk to you. I picked it up and I said, Bobby, this is Tony. I'm so sorry about your daddy. He said, well, Tony, I appreciate y'all, and I love you more than you'll ever know. But he said, Tony, I'm calling because he said there's something that we just don't understand. I said, Bobby, what do you mean there's something that you don't understand? He said, Tony, he said, there's a big wreath of red roses at the head of my daddy's casket. I said, yeah, we sent those because we wanted y'all to know that we loved you. He said, Tony, you don't understand. There's a big ribbon right on the front of those flowers. I said, yes, I know. I said, we just wanted to send you all a message of love. He said, well, Tony, I don't understand this. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, Tony, there's a big spray of red roses at the head of my daddy's casket with a ribbon on it that says, rest in peace on both sides. And if you squeeze in, we shall meet in heaven someday.